Good morning, and welcome to All People's Church, Unitarian Universalist. My name is Lori McKitka, and I will be your co-celebrant this morning for this morning's service. In the pulpit this morning is Daniel Polk. Daniel Polk is originally from Iowa, but has lived in Texas for a few decades. He has learned to drawl, sort of. He is the executive director of the North Texas Unitarian Universalist Congregations, NTUC. In his spare time, he enjoys wordplay and coloring wood for art projects. He tries to use his privilege for the benefit of society. If you have been here before, one time or many, you are welcome here. All People's Church is more than a place to gather on Sundays. It is a community, a spiritual home where you may develop and deepen your gifts. We gather to feed our minds and our souls, that we may each become blessings to our friends and to the larger world around us. If you're a visitor today and haven't signed in, please do so. There is a visitor's table by the front door. Signing in will give you the opportunity to acknowledge your visit and place you on our mailing list to receive weekly emails and our monthly newsletter. Before we continue with our service, please note these reminders and announcements. And David Bindi would like to give an announcement.
As we all know, closets are magnets. Magnets that attract everything that doesn't belong anyplace else, and closets fill up until they explode. Well, we had two closets that were exploding. So it's time to organize and cull all the stuff that we don't need. So the closet in the sanctuary and the closet in Coleman Hall were completely cleaned out, mopped, swept, spiders killed. Some of them were relocated, but if they stay in the closets, they just get more webs. So when you go to potluck today, there's about 4 tables plumb full of stuff from the closets. Now, Josh and I were the ones that cleaned them out, so everything was taken out. The stuff that we knew belonged went back in. If you would go through the stuff on the tables and take the stuff that belongs to you home if you want it, or if it's something that belongs to an organization and needs to stay here, there are a bunch of plastic containers to put them in, and I want to make sure that I don't throw anybody's stuff away. So go through it today, get your stuff or your organization's stuff, and I'll announce it again in the newsletter this week. And then next week, pick your stuff up before service. If you haven't picked it up, then it's going to be free to Good Home or to Goodwill. And you don't have to feel bad. I have a Goodwill near my house that supports battered women and abused children. So it will go to a good place. So nothing's going to be thrown away. So please get your stuff or your organization's stuff, and we'll put the stuff that stays here, and then next week we'll send home all the stuff that we don't need. Thanks.
And now please settle comfortably for our musical prelude.
My other announcement, I was going to slide in another one, is to say, well, I'm glad I'm here. Yes, I can do a bit of a drawl, but I also know how to say "might could" and "fixin' to," and I can punctuate all y'alls, so I can do that. I'm here with North Texas Unitarian Universalist congregations, with our group of congregations in North Texas, and a couple things. One, I have some money.
Yay!
$6,750 to help with salary support. It's the third year of the grant for your music director and religious education coordinator.
Thank you, thank you.
And other things about NTUC, I have two things coming up you'll want to know about. One, January 25th, I think that's the day, on Saturday, there's a workshop on stewardship to help give you tools to grow and strengthen this congregation. Two, we have a big party coming up. We have 4 milestone anniversaries this year in NTUC. There's a 30th, a 50th, a 75th, and 125th anniversary. I said, we need a party. March 2nd, come join us all. We'll be at Horizon Church, and let's do a big shindig. Our opening words today are from the Reverend Sharon Wiley. It is said that ministers are here to comfort the afflicted, and afflict the comfortable. I say that we are all afflicted and we are all comfortable. May our time together this morning be a comfort and a confrontation. May here we find peace and tumult. May we invite here tumult into the lives of peace. May we find calm in the times of restlessness. May we here allow restlessness to evolve into action. Let this be the place you consider what you've never considered. And let this be the place you imagine for yourself something new and unthinkable. May this hour bring new dreams of being into the world. Come, let us worship together. We invite you now to rise in body or spirit for the chalice lighting, opening words, and the spoken affirmation, which is in your order of service.
Words are from Elena Westbrook. In a world ravaged by violence, by hatred, by conflicts that seem eternal and insoluble, sometimes the only thing we can do is be still for a moment to remind ourselves what is real. The sun that rose this morning, the dirt under our feet, the air whispering in and out of our lungs. This hour, try just to be present in each moment as it unfolds. Your simple attention is what makes those moments today, what makes those moments holy. And join me now in singing our opening hymn, number 349, We Gather Together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. The young and young at heart are now invited to come forward for our time for all ages here at the front of the chancel. And we have Joe Burnham joining us today. Hi, Joe.
Thanks. Hi, Lori. Come on down, kiddos, and big kiddos, too. You're still a little kiddo. Okay, so today our story is from Dr. Seuss, and it's called The Sneetches. And I need reading glasses. Now, the star-belly Sneetches had bellies with stars, and the plain-belly Sneetches had none upon theirs. Those stars weren't so big, they really were so small, you might think such a thing wouldn't matter at all. Because they had stars, all the star-belly Sneetches would brag we're the best kind of Sneetch on the beaches. With their snoots in the air, they would sniff and they'd snort. We have nothing to do with the plain-belly sort. And whenever they met some, when they were out walking, they'd hike right on past them without even talking. How rude. When the star-belly children went out to play ball, a plain belly get in the game? Not at all. You could only play if your belly had stars, and the plain-bellied children had none upon theirs. When the star-belly Sneetches had Frankfurter roasts, or picnics, or parties, or marshmallow toasts, they never invited the plain-belly Sneetches. They left them out cold on the dark in the beaches. They kept them away, never let them come near, and that's how they treated them, year after year. Then one day, it seems, while the plain-belly Sneetches were moping and doping alone on the beaches, just sitting there wishing their belly had stars, a stranger zipped up in the strangest of cars. "My friends," he announced in a voice clear and keen, "my name is Sylvester McMonkey McBean, and I've heard of your troubles. I've heard you're unhappy, but I can fix that. I'm the fix-it-up chappie. I've come here to help you. I have what you need, and my prices are low, and I work at great speed, and my work is 100% guaranteed." There he is. Then quickly Sylvester McMonkey McBean put together a very peculiar machine, and he said, "You want stars like the star-belly Sneetch? My friends, you can have them for $3 each. Just pay me your money and hop right aboard." So they clambered inside, then the big machine roared, and it clonked and it bonked and it jerked and it burked and it popped them about. But the thing really worked. When the plain-bellied Sneetches popped out, they had stars. They actually did. They had stars upon theirs. And then they yelled at the ones who had stars at the start, "We're exactly like you. You can't tell us apart. We're all just the same. Now, you snooty old smarties, now we can go to your Frankfurter parties." "Good grief," groaned the ones who had stars at the first. "We're still the best Sneetches, and they are the worst. But now how in the world will we know, they all frowned, if which kind is which, or what, or is the other way around? Then up came McBean with a very sly wink, and he said, things are not quite as bad as you think. So you don't know who's who, that is perfectly true. But my friends, come with me. Do you know what I'll do? I'll make you, again, the best sneetches on beaches, and it will only cost you $10 eaches. Belly stars are no longer in style, said McBean. What you need is a trip through my star-off machine. This wondrous contraption will take off your stars so you won't look like sneetches who have them on theirs. And that handy machine worked very precisely, removing all stars from their tummies quite nicely. Then, with snoots in the air, they paraded about, and they opened their beaks, and they let out a shout. We know who is who, there isn't a doubt. The best kind of sneetches are sneetches without. Then, of course, those with stars all got frightfully mad. To be wearing a star was now frightfully bad. Then, of course, old Sylvester McMonkey McBean invited them into his star-off machine. Then, of course, from then on, as you probably guess, things really got into a horrible mess. All the rest of the day on those wild screaming beaches, the fix-it-up chappie kept fixing up sneetches. Off again, on again, in again, out again. Through the machines they raced round about again, changing their stars every minute or two. They kept paying money, they kept running through, until neither the plane nor the star belly knew whether this one was that one, or that one was this one, or which one was what one, and who was who. Then when every last cent of their money was spent, the fix-it-up chappie packed up, and he went. He laughed as he drove in his car up the beach. They will never learn. No, you can't teach a sneetch. But McBean was quite wrong. I'm quite happy to say that sneetches really got quite smart on that day. The day they decided that sneetches are sneetches, and no kind of sneetch is the best on the beaches. That day all the sneetches forgot about stars, and whether they had one or not upon theirs. Okay, so now we're going to sing out the children, and it's potluck, everybody, so stay for lunch.
Our first reading today is not in the order of service, but we're doing two readings. The first reading is by Dr. James E. Loader, a Presbyterian theologian, writing about fierce love, Ubuntu. A person is a person through other people. I am who I am because we are who we are. By challenging the wisdom of Ubuntu, we can engineer a badly needed love revolution to rise up out of the ashes of our current reality. Not the sentimental love of romantic comedies, greeting cards, and pop music, the kind of love that does not serve that purpose. No, I'm calling for a demanding, hearts-transforming, fierce love. Fierce love breaks through tribal connections, tribalism to help humans realize an inextricable and irrevocable connection and understand that the liberation, livelihood, and thriving of all people and planet are tied up in this together. In this moment, in the urgency of now, we simply must ask the questions of identity as we consider the surviving and thriving of all people. We must allow the stories of others, the vulnerable, the poor, the strangers, the least like us, to change our stories, to impact our story. The empathy that grows from listening to others, from connecting with neighbors, and from loving our neighbors as we love ourselves can define the courses of actions we take. How we vote, where we live, where we shop, how we raise our children, how we care for the planet. All of these choices, when made with Ubuntu, can save humanity. Love, a non-possessive delight in the peculiarity of the other. This church is supported by the offering of its members and friends, by the pledges of this community. We will now receive the offering. It is the custom here to share the undesignated cash offerings collected each week. This quarter of the year, for the nonprofit or charitable organization, we're sharing with the Partnership Home, which was formerly the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition. If you prefer, donations can be made using the QR code on the back of your order of service. The gifts will be most gratefully received and given. The ushers and choir, please come forward.
holiday concert. It's happening December 8th. We have flyers out front by the playground. I think Rain is also passing out. Thank you, Rain. All right. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Okay, beautiful. So we will be singing some holiday festive music of all cultures, but I wanted to highlight our guest performers from our youth that'll be singing with us next week as well. We are super excited to perform our selections next week, so we hope to see all of you there.
This
Our second reading today is from Defina Lazarus Stewart. He is a professor at the University of Denver and has written about diversity and inclusion versus equity and social justice. Diversity asks, who is in the room? Equity responds, who is trying to get into the room but can't? Whose presence in the room is under constant threat of erasure? Inclusion asks, have everyone's ideas been heard? Justice responds, whose ideas won't be taken as seriously because they aren't in the room, in the majority? Diversity asks, how many more, pick any minority group, do we have this year than last? Equity responds, what conditions have we created that certain groups are the perpetual majority here? Inclusion asks, is this the same safe environment for everyone to feel like they belong? Justice challenges, whose safety is being sacrificed and minimized to allow others to be comfortable maintaining dehumanizing views? Diversity asks, isn't it separatist to provide funding for separate spaces and separate student centers? Equity answers, what are people experiencing on campus that they don't feel safe when isolated and separated from others like themselves? Inclusion asks, wouldn't it be a great program to have a debate, like a panel on Black Lives Matter? We had a Black Lives activist here last semester. This year we should invite someone from the alt-right. Justice answers, why would we allow the humanity and dignity of our people, of our students, to be the subject of debate or the target of harassment and hate speech? Diversity celebrates increases in numbers that still reflect minoritized status on campus and incremental growth. Equity celebrates reductions in harm, revisions to abusive systems, and increases in support for the people's life choices as those reported by those who have been targeted. Inclusion celebrates awards for initiatives and credits itself for having a diverse candidate pool. Justice celebrates getting rid of practices and policies that are having diverse impact on minoritized groups. By substituting diversity and inclusion rhetoric for transformative efforts to promote equity and justice, historically white institutions have appeased their constituents and avoided recognizable institutional change. But it is time for those white institutions in America, higher education, to pursue real change and abandon the policies of appeasement.
At this time in our service, we pause to honor and to give time and attention to those things most important to us. We gather here for healing and for peace in our hearts and to honor our time together with the shared news and stories from the congregation. Each week there is a journal outside the entrance to the sanctuary where you can write a message of memory or hope before the service. We honor these messages by lighting 3 candles here next to our chalice. And also at any time during our service, you are welcome to come forward and light a candle in our meditation center here at the side of the chancel. And I don't have a book of memory or hope, so we don't have, Lori's checking. I don't know if we have anybody that's been mentioned this morning.
Lori, can I mention one?
Sure.
Phil here. I've got good news. My mother was sick a week ago for Wednesday, and she was sick through the weekend. She's 87 years old, and she got over it.
Oh, good. Thank you. And on December 1st, today, thank you to all the donors at our Carter Blood Care blood drive last Sunday. There were actually a lot of people. 17 donors showed up to save lives. Gratitude abounds. We pause at this time to hold and to honor the sorrows and celebrations among us, including those deeply felt but left here unspoken. Let us pause for a moment of silent meditation and music.
Every week, we say love is our doctrine. But what kind of love are we talking about? I hope not just the mushy Valentine kind. We won't need to do more than sit around and sing Kumbaya. Today, I want to look at different kinds of love, beyond the 4 types named by the Greeks. There's tough love, and what I'm talking about, fierce love. More about that later, but first the Greek. Most of us know about eros, or erotic love. There's also agape, unconditional love, or the love of God for man and man for God. Many of you will sometime, in fact today we're going to be having an agape meal, a potluck. And there's storge, or love of family, and philia, friendship. Do you know that Philadelphia literally is the city of brotherly love? The basic and historical types which you'll hear about in a sociology class. These, you could say, form the basis of our theology. There's also tough love, the kind of love you get from a teacher, sponsor, or coach, or from your parents when you didn't get what you want but what you need. It's not about being tough on someone, but being tough on, but doing what might be tough on either or both parties. Love that is tough to give as well as receive. Mr. Rogers reminds us that love isn't a state of perfect caring. It is an active noun like struggle. To love someone is to strive to accept that person exactly the way he or she is, right here and now. Think about that times you were told what you needed to hear instead of what you wanted. It's not easy giving or receiving tough love, but it what's help a person grow. maybe it's good for what ails you. I'm reminded of Randy Pausch's talk, the last lecture, when he said that your teachers and coaches will push you. When they stop is when you should be concerned because they've given up on you. However, if someone uses this term to be tough on their loved ones, they're misusing the concept, at least in my opinion. It's often harder on the person giving the love than those receiving. Tough love can be asking the hard questions. Are you okay? What do you need? What do you want? When are you going to blank? Why haven't you blank? Sometimes it means saying, I don't want to be part of what you're doing or planning, or I'm not willing to tolerate your actions. 30 years ago, we held a national conference, and afterwards, denominational liaison, had to pick up the phone and call a UUA staffer and tell him that the person they had sponsored to attend had not represented them well and was drunk most of the weekend. His response astounded me. Well, as UUs have to accept everyone. And for once, I didn't wait before reacting. No, this is not about accepting or rejecting the person, but about not tolerating abusive behavior. I'm glad to say he seemed to agree. Let me tell you that correcting and confronting an authority figure twice my age was empowering for me. We both grew that day, I think, and we both gained. And from Mr. Rogers, love seems to be something that keeps filling up within us. The more we give away, the more we have to give. Then there's what I'm calling fierce love. I found a model of psychotherapy called that, but it's nothing completely different. Closer is a new book by Dr. Jackie Lewis. I started using this well before her publication, but I don't have it in print. Dr. Lewis writes, from downsizing our emotional baggage to speaking truth to power to fueling our activism with joy, fierce love demonstrates the power of small, courageous steps to heal our own lives, our posse, and our larger communities. My concept is a little more out front, putting ourselves on the front lines to protect those we love, as well as standing for our principles. Think of the mama bear who fiercely, determinedly watches out for her cubs to protect them. It's at the foundation of our Yellow Shirt campaign, Side with Love, and the nonviolent protest movements, which would quickly run out of steam were they not grounded in principles. Such grounding is shown by the 18th century Universalist John Murray, who was preaching in Boston when he was interrupted. A rock thrown through the window narrowly missed his head. He picked it up and announced that this argument is solid and weighty, but neither rational nor convincing. Danger, dedication, and courage are crucial, but even or when or because we might be in danger sometimes. This sermon was inspired by a meme which stated that if allies are not getting hit by the rocks being thrown at the protesters, the ones we're supporting, we're not standing close enough. Hence my title, Catching Bricks. We need to be proactive, out front, doing more than talking our talk. How many bricks have you caught lately? Walking the walk. Like when more than a third of our ministers answered Dr. King's call in 1965 to join the March in Selma. James Reeb didn't make it home, but his legacy calls to us across the decades to join with Black Lives Matter, Black Lives of UU, and other movements like La Raza and disability rights, and all those doing the real work of peace and justice. That Selma March was a turning point for us. When UU started doing more than passing high-minded resolutions at General Assembly and returning home, well-meaning empty promises, and returning home to lily-white congregations. and there's still much work to be done. The Unitarian Universalist Association is still one of, if not the widest denomination in the country. After all our civil rights work, what's up with that? There are other heroes in our history. Nearly 200 years ago, Theodore Parker was active with the Underground Railroad and slept with a pistol under his pillow to protect his home and guests. His writings have inspired no less than Kurt Vonnegut, Betty Friedan, Martin Luther King, and Abraham Lincoln, like the line about the arc of the universe bending towards justice. Did you know that Parker was also one of the Secret Six, the men who funded abolitionist John Brown? No coincidence that two of them were Unitarian ministers. Being on the front lines can and will test a person and often requires quick thinking, especially when dealing with protesters. Fort Worth Pride Parade doesn't have the loud floats like those in Dallas, so the protesters can be heard, especially because they have their bullhorns, but they also get mean, personal, and nasty. Hey, you, fatso in the green shirt. They get mean. But a few years ago, I shut down a protester. She gave up and went away. She was in a shouting match with several of her teenagers on the sidelines. I stopped it. I went to each group and said, don't argue with her, you're just encourage her. Don't give in, this is what she wants, she's enjoying it. Ignore her, don't encourage her, so they stopped. And I'd caught a tiger by the tail. Have you ever been somewhere where people are looking at you, expecting you to do something? So I thought for a second, and then I dealt with her. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. The teenagers joined in with me. She gave up, went away. Win. But the best of all is I showed young people how it could be done. Then the protesters who stand outside the gates of the park and preach reading from their books. I really irked one of them. I'd had enough of their harassment. I decided I'm going to give some back. I did not touch him. I did not say a word to him. But I just stood right behind him. And I used his microphone. Amazing grace, how sweet. Oh, he got angry. He turned around, he was talking to me. I just kept singing, that saved a soul like me. He got irritated, and I had fun. I walked away unharmed, and it reminded of the old Tom Lehrer song. Anyone else remember Tom Lehrer? We are the folk song army. Ready, aim, sing. Fierce love doesn't have to be at a march, and there are many people working in various fronts. GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, and individuals working for corporate responsibility. Years ago, there was an offensive ad for Honey Nut Cheerios, and our protests were ignored until the late Joe Norton, member of our congregation in Albany, showed up at a meeting of General Mills. He didn't have a large number of shares, but they dated from the corporate founding, and thus he was a charter member, charter shareholder of the company, speaking at the shareholders meeting. And you know what? That commercial went away. Speaking truth to power. Each of us needs to use whatever access and privilege we enjoy to challenge those in control and to advocate for justice. Anyone who doesn't see connections here to the overturn of Roe v. Wade, what comes out of the Texas Ledge, and last month's elections results, are you paying attention? The pro-life movement is not about abortion, but domination by patriarchal hierarchy. 50-some years ago, there was not much reaction to the Roe v. Wade decision. But in 1978, Paul Warwick and Jerry Falwell latched onto abortion as an organizing tool for the radical right wing because racism was no longer politically acceptable. You know, restrooms, it's not about trans people. It's not about restrooms any more than 60 years ago. It was about water fountains. We've seen rights of transgender people targeted, and it's going to get worse in the next year. Marriage equality and birth control are on the list. You think they're not coming after? And they've been already working also on government funding for private schools called the school choice. Well, unless you've got money to get to one of those schools, it's not a choice. Not to mention book bans. If you're not hearing me, it's going to take all of us in this fight, in school boards, on city councils. As Audre Lorde wrote, there is no hierarchy of oppression. There is no hierarchy of oppression. We have to be proactive. We have to get to work. And it's not going to be easy. Stacey Abrams said after the election, "It is not enough to resist. It is not sufficient to persist. We must insist. We must insist on a government with leaders that respect us and our needs. And even if we lose that fight, we need to go on record claiming our needs." So I call on us to explore and learn how we can grow and use our powers and to foster them in upcoming generations. How can we have more impact? How can we speak truth to power? But power for good, stated so eloquently by Dr. King. Power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. So I ask of you, have you caught many bricks lately? Our closing hymn today is number 121, "We'll Build a Land."
Our chalice words are from Reverend Scott Taylor. May awareness lead you on your way. May you be where you are, free from the quicksand of the past and let loose from the imagined fires of the future. And may you always hear the precious present calling you home.
Closing words are from an old monastic blessing adapted by the Reverend Eugenia Gamble, Presbyterian minister. May God bless you with discomfort and half-truths and answers that are easy or superficial, so that you will live deeply and from the heart. May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression, and the exploitation of people, so that you will work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless you with tears to shed for those who mourn, so that you will reach out your hand to them and turn their mourning into joy. And may God bless you with just enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in the world, so that you will do those things that others say cannot be